Welcome to the finals, sponsored by Football Index. Now, over the next few weeks, we've got some massive finals coming up. The FA Cup final, the playoff finals, the Europa League final, and of course, that Champions League final, which now features, of course, Tottenham and Liverpool. Now, we're going to get kicking with the final day of the Premier League. We're going to look at all 10 matches, and as a little added extra for you, at the end of each match, we're going to give you a player that might well be worth purchasing on Football Index that's been given to me by their experts. So let's get cracking and start off with Brighton versus Manchester City. Sunday, Brighton versus Manchester City. Now, a win for Manchester City here, and they will retain their Premier League title. Brighton, well, they are now safe from relegation. I don't know if that's going to help City or not. The popular opinion is, of course, that it would have been a tougher match had Brighton needed to secure a win to stay up. I'm not so sure. Maybe the pressure now is off them in front of their home crowd. They can just let themselves go and relax. But is that enough to beat Manchester City? I doubt it very much. City have been in imperious form of late. They've won their last 13 matches on the spin, playing some awesome football. If you look at Brighton's attack as well, there's not a lot going forward. If you look at their stats here, they've only scored 18 goals at home in 18 matches. And that leads us on to our selection here. We're going for a correct score of Manchester City to win by 2-0. And our main selection would be to back Manchester City to win to 0. Now, the guys over at Football Index, well, they've put a player forward here who's been in such good form all season. Bernardo Silva, they think he could be a interesting potential buy for you. Apparently, his price has risen by 50% throughout the season. So for us, it's Manchester City to win 2-0 and the Football Index pointer, Bernardo Silva. Burnley versus Arsenal. Now, Arsenal have got a very slim chance of still making the top 4 as we speak. They need to win. Tottenham need to lose, and they've got to turn around an 8-goal difference. So it's very unlikely. Burnley, they've improved as the season's gone on. They've only actually lost 3 of their last 9 at home. Arsenal, well, they've been very poor away. They sit 10th in the away league table, and they've only kept 1 clean sheet away all season. So for us, at Free Super Tips, our main selection is for Burnley in the double chance market. We think it could be an entertaining game. Our correct score, 2-2. Now, the guys over at Football Index, they like Aubameyang here as a potential buy. His price at the moment is somewhere around £1.43. Now, remember, he's only 2 behind in the race for the Golden Boot. So, also, what you must remember, when you buy a player, in the first 30 days after you purchase, Football Index pays you out for every goal they score as well. So please look at that. Aubameyang, remember, he's just 2 behind in the Golden Boot, and he's the Football Index selection. Crystal Palace versus Bournemouth, 12th plays 13th. Probably a satisfactory season for both sides, you'd imagine. Crystal Palace, though, very poor at home. They're 19th in the home league table. They've only won 4 times at Selhurst Park all season. Bournemouth, well, they've only lost 1 of their last 4 away from home, and they've recently beaten Brighton and Huddersfield and also drew with Southampton. For us, we're going for Bournemouth in the double chance market. A correct score, we like 2-2. Now, the guys at Football Index, they've put up a very interesting player here, Milivojevic. Now, he's the only player, I couldn't believe this stat, the only player to have scored more than 1 goal at Selhurst Park this season. I thought Wilf Zaha must have done, but no. Of course, he takes the penalties, free kicks as well. So Milivojevic, a very interesting potential buy on the Football Index market. Fulham versus Newcastle. Now, it's Championship football for Fulham, I'm afraid, next season. They've actually started to play well, but when it's all too late, they've actually won 3 of their last 4, and they weren't disgraced in their only defeat against Wolves. Newcastle, well, they still look a club in a bit of a mess behind the scenes. Is Rafa going to stay? We don't know yet. Will Newcastle fancy the long trip down south as well on the final day of the season? Well, we don't think so. We're going for a Fulham win, and by 2-1. Now, over at Football Index, there's a player here they like, Ayoze Perez. He's been in great form, and he's only around 55p to buy. So it's Perez for Football Index. Leicester versus Chelsea. Now, Leicester, they've been in much better form since Brendan Rodgers has arrived. They've won 5 of their last 8 league games. Jamie Vardy's on fire again. They scored 2 at home against Bournemouth. They got 3 against Fulham and 3 against Arsenal. Now, Chelsea, they've only kept 1 clean sheet in their last 13 away games. And of course, we know Chelsea will have played on Thursday night in the Europa League as well. Now, our main selection here is for Leicester over 1.5 team goals. A correct score, we're going to go 2-1. Football Index, well, they're slightly in agreement with us as well. Jamie Vardy, again, he's been on fire. And remember, Football Index, they pay out every goal your player scores within the first 30 days of you purchasing him. So for Football Index, it's Jamie Vardy. On to Liverpool versus Wolves. Now, Liverpool come into this match on the back of that amazing performance in midweek when they beat Barcelona. They need to win here and obviously hope that Manchester City slip up. Will that match in midweek, though, taken something out of Liverpool? The effort they must have put in there. And this Wolves side, they're a good side. They're the best of the rest. They're 7th in the league. And also, if you look at this stat, they've scored in 9 of the 11 matches against the Big Six this season. And that leads us to our selection. We're going to go for both teams to score. We do think Liverpool will edge it by 2-1. Now, the guys over at Football Index, they're putting up Sadio Mane for you. His price at the moment is around £2.38 to buy. As you know, he's only 2 behind in the Golden Boot race. But of course, if you buy him as well and hold on to him, you'll have that Champions League final as well. So Sadio Mane is the Football Index pointer. Manchester United versus Cardiff. My boys, Manchester United, I can't wait for the season to end. Ollie's still at the wheel, just about. They've been very poor. That performance against Huddersfield the other week was absolutely dreadful. Cardiff, well, they've finally been relegated after a very, very brave effort. Speaking as a United fan, I think we'd have to go for under 2.5 goals in this match, to be honest. Cardiff's last 5 away games have seen 2 goals or less in the match. Even when they were away to Manchester City, they only lost 2-0. So under 2.5 goals would be our main selection. United might just nick this in a very drab affair. We're going to go for Manchester United 1, Cardiff 0. Now, the guys at Football Index, they've come up with a really interesting one for you here. Romelu Lukaku. He's only £1.37 or around about that to buy. They see him as a bit of a flat track bully. He may or may not play. If he doesn't play, that price is unlikely to go down. It will stay around the same mark. If he got a run out, though, this is the sort of game Lukaku could definitely score 1 or 2 goals in. So he could be a real interesting purchase there. Romelu Lukaku for the guys at Football Index. Southampton versus Huddersfield. Now, Southampton have definitely improved under Ralph Hasenhüttl. He's even managed to get Shane Long scoring goals. Now, they've beaten Wolves and Tottenham at home recently as well. And Huddersfield, as we know, they're so poor away from home. They've won 1 away game all season. They've lost 10 of their last 11. And recently, they've lost 5-0 to Liverpool, 4-0 to Spurs, 5-0 to Chelsea. Now, we know Southampton are not in that class, but they can give up 1.5 goals in the handicap. That's our main selection. Southampton minus 1.5 in the Asian handicap and a correct score of 2-0. Tottenham versus Everton. Tottenham come into this game after an amazing performance on Wednesday night. But just looking at this game, there's quite a few negatives for Tottenham here. Kane, obviously likely to miss the match through injury. Son is suspended. And of course, that game must have took a lot out of them on Wednesday evening. Now, they only need to secure a point to guarantee a top 4 spot, of course. Everton, well, they've been in good form towards the end of the season. They've only lost 1 of their last 7 matches. That was against Fulham, strangely enough. Now, Everton, they've kept a clean sheet as well in 8 of their last 10 matches. We think this game could be goalless. That's our correct score option for 0-0, and we're going to go for under 2.5 goals in the match. Now, over at Football Index, they've pointed us in the direction of Richarlison. Now, at Football Index, they pay out on the top trending footballers in the media each day. Now, Richarlison has obviously been linked with a big money move this summer. So if you purchase him, he may do well in this game, but they're also advising hold on to him, see what happens through the summer. So Richarlison for Football Index. Watford versus West Ham. Now, Watford could be forgiven for having one eye on the FA Cup final next weekend. They have taken their foot off the pedal slightly towards the end of the season as well. They've won just one of their last 5 since they won that semi-final clash against Wolves. West Ham, well, they've lost 4 of their last 5 away though. So Watford we see just pinching this on the final game of the season. Under 2.5 goals has come up in 6 of West Ham's last 8 away games. So it's under 2.5 goals for us, but we think Watford just pinch it by 1-0. Hope you've enjoyed that. Now, don't forget, please log on to Football Index, have a look. It's a really interesting way of purchasing players, selling them on later in the season. A real good idea. Obviously, log on to Free Super Tips as well. We've got all the best previews and analysis on there for you. And enjoy, of course, the Premier League final day.